and that wasn't
Yes.
and that wasn't in my paperwork I gave you, but
Okay.
I had shared it with you before, so
Right.
I want to
I
make
know that.
sure you
Yeah.
knew that. Okay, perfect.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's interesting for folks to know where our districts are geographically. We don't all know that.
Yeah,
So, you know,
I know. Hmm.
it's interesting, yeah. So do we want to mute Chris or not necessary?
It's up to you.
Okay, I want to welcome everybody this morning. We'll be beginning in just a few minutes, about 5 minutes before time to begin, but we have folk arriving. And I want to welcome you, each of you, as you join us for this morning. I'm really excited about this program and its subject, and about the caliber of our program participants. We get some really sharp people with some really important things to say, and so uh, it's going to be a neat day, I think. Good morning, Lane.
Good morning.
Hi,
Well,
Lane.
hello. It's good to see the gang, and I'm sorry I missed the meetings. Been slowly getting back to normal here.
I see you got the bandage on your forehead still, so
Yeah. Well, the surgery, they pulled out some cancer and
yeah,
kind of slowed me down a little, but I'm trying to stay up with everything.
I can identify with that. Been there, done that. Felt like I was going to be a head bandage for the rest of my life.
I'm just not used to having it
Yeah,
on my face.
yeah, life has its challenges. That's for certain.
It does. It does.
Pray for your complete and speedy recovery, Lane.
Thanks, Paula. I know you're going to do us proud today.
Thanks for the pressure.
He's been a
Good
great
morning, Vicki.
inspiration to me, Art, Chris.
Vicki, I see you're from 5080 up there in uh, Debbie's neck of the woods.
I'm Vicky, unmute yourself.
Yeah, you're muted, Vicki. Okay.
Gonna have to show her how to unmute.
We should be able to unmute her. Either Art or Chris.
There
Oops.
you go.
Yeah.
There you go.
There we go.
Is that better?
We can
Yeah.
hear you now.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm having some connectivity issues, so I might be in and out. But I am in the state of Washington, in Colville, Washington, about 2.5 hours from Debbie.
Oh, cool.
Okay. Up in Washington. I hope it's not as hot up there as it is over here in Arizona right now. It's supposed to be 106 today in Phoenix,
Good.
Wow.
and we're going to be 92 degrees, I think, up here at 5,000 mile high elevation. So it's just insanely hot. Have never had this kind of heat this
Well,
time of
it's
year.
been over 90 in Orange County where Paula and I are, but I'm closer to the coast, so it hasn't got quite that high for me.
Ugh.
It's plenty hot for me, Lane.
What's it like up there in Seattle, Mike?
Well, this morning it was 44 degrees and misting
Oh,
and cloudy, like it is 220 days a year.
All
So
right.
those of you from Arizona and Southern California, if you need a break,
come up here.
come on up.
Would love to do that. However, I got too many tax clients
Yeah,
chasing me right now, wanting
don't
their
plan to
returns.
stay though. No, we're full. So
Yeah. Just visit.
yeah,
Bring your tax dollars.
exactly. We have a waterfront full of tourist activities for you. You leave your dollars right there.
Okay. Again, welcome to each of you as you arrive for our conference
Oh,
today. Hi, Roz from Hawaii.
hello, Roz.
Hello,
Good to see you always.
how's everybody?
as good as I can be in tax season, Roz.
Yeah, right.
Okay, we'll wait just a couple more minutes to officially begin our session. We try to begin on time and end on time with our 90-minute format. Back during the pandemic, when we first began our conferences, and this is actually the 18th of our conferences that our Road Use Services Task Force has sponsored. But back in the beginning, during the pandemic, when we began to realize this was an ideal way to connect our Road Use Services leaders, we were doing 3-hour conferences, and that worked out really well on Saturday mornings. And then when Rotary came back to live, and Rotary tends to exist on Saturdays with service projects and stuff on Saturday mornings. We had to kind of whittle things down, and we revised our 3-hour conferences down to half that at 90 minutes, and we try to stay on time for that. Protect your schedules there. So glad to see all of you with us today, and I'm going to go ahead and begin our meeting, our mini conference today. And our subject today is really on the advantages that may exist by intersecting our Rotary Youth Services programs of Interact, RYLA, Youth Exchange, and then connecting all those with our youth protection as well. And so this morning, we're going to be looking at a number of these aspects of that. And I can tell you that as I had worked at the zones and international level in Rotary for a number of years and was seeing so many different districts, I was seeing some common things happening. And that was that our youth services programs were existing kind of as separate silos in many of the districts. There was no connectivity. The programs were kind of jealously protecting their turf from each other because they were all having to draw funds from the same Rotary clubs, and they were concerned about supporting one of the others because that might then decrease their support. And I came back to the district level with the intent of uh, addressing this because I'd been talking for so many years to people about the advantages I saw if we built a strong, interconnected Rotary Youth Services program in each of our districts. And what I found was people don't really uh, put much credence into your ideas about what's possible until they see an example. And so I came back to the district level to work on building an example, a model of our Rotary Youth Services programs that would be interconnected and mutually supporting each other. And our fourth presenter today is actually a product of all of that. You're going to hear from a student, Cooper George, and we'll talk more about him later. But you'll be able to see the results of what we were able to produce out of that. But I can tell you that when I first came back, I had great difficulty getting the leaders of these three programs to even sit down together in the same room.
Wow.
And the idea of being equals was something that just was not something they were ready to accept. And so it took a lot of work to be able to convince them that, hey, we can do this better together than separately. And so this was something that we've been working on in our district for some time, and we don't have all the answers. We haven't arrived yet. We're still a work in progress, but we're going to actually be hearing today from 4 different districts of things that they're doing that may help you a little bit in this area. We're going to begin this morning with 4 polls, and I'm going to ask Chris to put up the first one of those because we'd like to get your input to see where you're coming from and what you think. And so if Chris has the first poll up here, and the question is, do you believe a Rotary district can benefit from an integrated Rotary Youth Services structure in which each of the programs seeks to aid, strengthen, and support the other programs? So what do you think? Do you think that's a good idea or not? If you will register your vote. Okay, hopefully everybody's been able to vote on that. Let's end that poll, Chris, and take a look at the results.
Yeah.
Okay, everybody's on board here. You feel like this is a good idea. Well, that's a good starting point. Okay, so let's go to poll number 2 now. And I'd like to see your input here. Do you, on a scale of 1 to 10, with 10 being the strongest, um, how would you rank your district's strength in your Interact, RYLA, and Youth Exchange programs intersecting and supporting each other? So if you will vote on that as to how you see your district.
And just to clarify, that's our district as it is today or where we want to go?
As it is today, where do you see it is now?
Thank you.
Thank you for that question. Okay, Chris, let's end the poll and show the results. Well, that's encouraging because we see about 36% of you who are on here today saying that your district is up in the 7 to 8 range. There's only 14% of you that feel you're in the 9 to 10 range, and nobody's down there in the 1 to 2 range. So that's encouraging to see and hear. That gives our presenters an idea of where you're coming from and where you think you are today. I think all of us want to be better than we are, but that's a good indication of where you are now. So let's go to our third poll, Chris. And our third poll says, where in your district do you feel you have your strongest and most beneficial intersections between your Rotary Youth Services programs? Is it between Interact and RYLA or Interact Youth Exchange or RYLA Youth Exchange? Where do you think you are strongest? And this actually could have multiple answers if you want. Okay, Chris, let's end that poll and show the results. Okay, it looks like we have an overwhelming 92% majority that's saying the strongest is Interact to RYLA. And about 15% each say Interact to Youth Exchange and RYLA to Youth Exchange. Interesting. Okay, so we see what we have commonality between our districts on this. Okay, now we're going to go to our fourth poll. And our fourth poll asks this question: on the road to Rotary, which of the programs in your district works most effectively intersecting with and transitioning your high school program participants into Rotaract? So is it Interact to Rotaract, Rally to Rotaract, Youth Exchange? It looks like I have a typo there. Youth Exchange to Rotaract. Okay, let's end that poll and show us the results, Chris. It looks like, again, the strongest connection seems to be Interact to Rotaract, 57% saying that's their strongest connection to moving kids on to Rotaract. And then you have 36% RYLA to Rotaract and 21% Youth Exchange to Rotaract. Okay, that's interesting information. Thank you for sharing those your opinions and your votes on that. So if you'll stop sharing that, Chris, and let's move on then. All right. I want to introduce our first speaker this morning, and This is Paula Fox. She is with District 5320 in Orange County, California, Southern California. And Paula has a passion for working with youth and youth programs which support their health and their well-being, including targeting opportunities for youth leadership growth and development. And she's an active member of the Yorba Linda Sunrise Rotary Club. She's currently serving as the District 5320 Rotary Youth Services Chair. She is the recruiter and trainer for adult volunteers to RYLA and counselor coordinator while in the leadership camp. For the past 10 years, Paula was the director for the Yorba Linda Food for Families, a nonprofit organization serving families with food insecurity. And Paula was honored as one of the 125 most influential people in Orange County for 2022. She retired in 2011 as an insurance risk management CEO and as a lifetime USC Trojan. She loves to cruise with her husband, Don, and enjoys playtime with her two granddaughters, Iris and Evelyn. So I'm going to see if we can bring up um, share her presentation here. All right. Oops. All right, I think I hit something wrong here, and I'm trying to. All right, we're back here. Let's see if I can try that again. Okay, can you see the screen there?
Yes.
All right, here we go. Take it away, Paula.
There you go. Well, thank you everyone for giving me this opportunity from District 5320 to share with you how our youth services program intersect between, uh, you know, Interact, uh, RYLA, and Youth Exchange and Youth Protection, and how we believe by doing a robust effort in these areas, we can really enhance membership in all of the programs on behalf of our kids. Scroll. So I'm going to focus today on Interact and Rotaract and how it spawns youth participation and leadership in Rotary. And then I'm going to actually talk a little bit about how Rotaractors and Rotarians actually are the long-term benefactors of a really robust youth program at a district. And finally, share a little bit about the challenges and the commitment that you must have in those in the leadership role and how to structure your communications to make sure that those programs gel together properly. Scroll. So when we start promoting Interact, what typically happens, I think in most clubs, the local high school has a club rush. School clubs focus on community service and try to appeal to altruistic students. And they tell them, you know, you need graduation service hours and it looks great on your resume and application. Come join us. And really, their first knowledge about Rotary is that person who brings the pizza at lunchtime, and they thank that person for bringing lunch to the club. And that's their exposure. Scroll. What happens in Ryla Camp? We tell them you're going to learn great leadership skills. We ask the counselors and the teachers to help promote the program and help us select the kids. And we tell them it's great on your resume and application. And their first knowledge, oftentimes, about Interact are for those few clubs who say, well, we're only going to sponsor Interact students at the school. when you have kids who say, well, then what's Interact? How is that involved with Rotary? Or their first knowledge is when we know that there are youth exchange students who have come into our programs inbound at the district, and we say we give priority to them because we want their participation in our leadership camp. And unfortunately, their first knowledge about Rotary is when they know that the camp is free and that it is the Rotary Club who's sponsoring the camper, that they start to get a little bit of exposure to what Rotary actually is. Scroll. So RYLA Camp intersects to grow clubs and grows membership and can build leadership in Interact. And here's how our stats work. Scroll. When we design our program, and I think many RYLA programs are designed this way, we provide a pipeline where the campers start out, the returning campers are the trailblazers, and then our junior senior counselors are basically those who are the most committed, who come back year after year to help out at camp, and they provide a greater leadership role. Scroll. So I wanted to show you some stats. About 10% of our campers are interactors when they come to RYLA. But when they return to their schools, most of them are really charged up to either start an Interact club, if in fact they don't have one, or to join their Interact club. And the reason they do that is because the Trailblazer that's in that second level, 95% of them are interactors, and they're typically interactors at their high school level. So there brings to these campers a tremendous amount of visibility for what the importance of being an interactor is and what they do to contribute to their school and to the community. And by the time when an interactor becomes a junior or senior counselor at the district camp level, they're also your district leadership. By then, you've got committed young students, and we have had an opportunity to actually see them at their work and see them demonstrate their leadership skill and their commitment amidst all of their very busy schedules, especially by the time they're seniors in high school. And in Interact membership, but our programs don't stop there. We have 4 more years of continuing rotating into the pipeline. And typically our facilitators and mentors, sometimes our admin, they're Rotaractors in college, they are graduate students, and they're oftentimes young adults who are out working. And we have those in the pipeline because they aren't so far removed from the students. They remember the challenges of high school, and they remember what it's like and what they are having in terms of issues. And they tend to connect better with the kids. And so when they're recognized as the Rotaractors, there's another link between the interactors and the Rotaractors that are part of those programs. And obviously the Rotarians are also involved. So scroll. So when we look at Rotaractors and Rotarians being the benefactors to these various programs, we find that the Rotaractor senior role in the pipeline provide that Rotaract exposure. So by their 5th and 6th years, these are Rotaractors who the Trailblazers in their 2nd and 3rd year are looking up to them. In addition to that, we find that when we recruit college students out of these areas, some of them have no idea that they even had a Rotaract club at their college, or they will return and say, I'm going to start a Rotaract club. We were really excited when this happened at Cal State Fullerton. We had a graduate student who came up last year, and this year they started a Rotaract club, got a bunch of their friends together, and talked about programs that they can do. And finally, after RYLA, we oftentimes get letters and emails from parents who say, what did you do to my child? This is a different person. My son is not as angry. My daughter is more thoughtful. And so it gives an opportunity to think about that. And then when you look finally at that opportunity, those parents can become Rotarians. And we did have that situation as well. Finally, when you look at how to make this all gel together, it requires the commitment of the leadership. We have 5 chairs in our committee, And we meet every single month. And the requirement for us is to all collectively know and understand the importance of what each program is doing and how it impacts the other program. So when we advocate for our programs, we want them to know that what they can do to help. We look at the vision and the function of each of the programs, and then also look forward to what the other organization, or if you can, the other chairperson can help in terms of supporting that program. We use DACDB, I think many of you do. We have contact lists that we've created so that when a program is started up and we want to get, say, for example, Rotaractors involved, there's a contact leadership list. Or we want RYS students to be involved. There is another list. So we are able to communicate amongst and between each of the various groups. We also invite members to join events. Now, it's very common. We hear it all the time. Well, if Rotary clubs are putting together an event, invite your interactors, invite your Rotaractors, invite your youth exchange students, invite these program chairs and all of their committee members and all of their students that are involved in those programs. But the only thing I want to emphasize is the importance of making sure that you keep that leadership structure congruent, because you will get a lot of excitement for kids coming to an event, but you won't get them coming back to a second event if, for example, Rotaractors think that they're, babysitting interactors or high school kids. You need to have a structure where there's actually enough hierarchy where one group is actually helping out another group so that they feel like they're providing some added value. And this makes for great networking between all the various parties that are at the table at these events. And interactors can see how Rotaractors can help them answer questions about college and young careers and deciding what to do. And then you see the Rotaractors who are connected and help open avenues for internships and scholarships for interactors and Rotaractors, and how they can actually potentially write letters of recommendation and so forth. So it's that interconnectedness that has to occur when these activities, as they are structured. And finally, I just wanted to share that we have our youth protection officer at every one of these monthly meetings. Because if you're asking a youth protection officer at a district to make sure that everybody stays safe with all the youth programs at all the clubs at the district, it's impossible. So when that youth protection officer knows what the big projects are that are coming forth from, the RYLA chair, the Interact chair, and others, it allows for that youth protection officer to see and message the need for compliance, the understanding for compliance, and to also help in that process. And as we all know, if we don't keep our kids safe, if we don't keep our Rotarians safe in an environment in youth services, we don't have a youth service program. So I just wanted to leave you with a final thought. Scroll. And this is, I think we lost the last picture, but it's actually an African proverb. And it says, if you want to go fast, go alone. But if you want to go long-term and you want to have good leadership and long-term, you go as a team. And so I really appreciate giving the opportunity to share this with you today. Thank you.
Thank you, Paula. And I apologize for failing to get that last slide up there. I hope you can see that.
That's all right. I love elephants.
Okay, and let me just, before we move on, you use the term trailblazers, which is not necessarily a common denominator with our districts. Explain again, who are the trailblazers?
So they're typically the second year, or I think in some clubs you call them alumni. There are second year campers, and they used to come and just create and help put the camp together. But what we've decided is that trailblazers can be part of the team of campers that are there. So they provide some general guidance, but they have their own separate curriculum, which advances more leadership skills that they learned than they did when they were campers. And it encourages the campers to vie for those positions in the second year, because usually we have 80 or 90 and we take about 45 to 50% of those candidates. We bring in 200 kids for camp. We end up with 40 trailblazers in that second year for that reason. So,
And those
thank
that's
you.
where they learn
trailblazers
about
are my leadership for Interact. That's where I
Okay.
get my
yes,
governors and my entire
that's where
Interact team
that's
for
where
the
Lane,
district.
yeah, that's where Lane picks that group from. So, and you're with camp with them for 3-4 days. You start to figure out who the leaders are, who are the good listeners, who work well with other kids who are, differing than them. And it's a wonderful place, as Lane says, to pluck his leadership from there.
Okay. Thank you very much for that clarification and for that from you and from Lane as well. We're going to move on now. And Kathleen Jordan is going to be sharing with us. She is from District 5100 up in Oregon, and she is a professional forester whose career with the U.S. Forest Service spanned multiple national forests along the West Coast. And following her retirement, she has continued her public service as an expert witness for the U.S. Department of Justice, supporting cases involving criminal trespass and damage to natural resources. She's a dedicated Rotarian for over 33 years. She served as in districts 5320, 5160, and 5100. Her passion centers on youth development with extensive experience in Rotary Youth Exchange, Interact, RYLA, Rotaract, and Scouting America, also youth protection, and a wide range of club and district youth services initiatives. She currently serves as the Youth Services Chair for Rotary District 5100. And so, Kathleen, take it away.
Thanks, Art. I'm delighted to be with all of you this morning. I've been tasked with speaking about the intersection of youth exchange with Interact, RYLA, and the rest of the youth programs. I'm going to begin with a short story. In District 5100, we welcomed an exchange student from Mexico who arrived excited, but also a little uncertain. New country, new school, new language, no familiar faces. Within a few weeks, something remarkable happened. Through Rotary, she wasn't just placed, she was welcomed. She attended her first Interact meeting, joined a service project, quickly found herself surrounded by peers who shared a commitment to service. By mid-year, she wasn't just participating, she was leading. She gave presentations about her home country, inspired students to think globally, and even began to help planning projects alongside Interact leaders. And here's the part that stays with me. When I asked what changed everything for her, she didn't say travel or classes. She said, it was realizing I belonged to something bigger than myself. That's the power of youth exchange in District 5100. It doesn't just change one student, it strengthens every program and every young leader it touches. So there's a continuum of youth services or youth programs in Rotary. And I want to start by connecting Rotary Youth Exchange to that continuum. So you can see there's some ages that I've set. Interact, Rotary Youth Exchange, and RYLA. And there's a teen RYLA and a young adult RYLA. So I've put both of those age ranges in there. So an interesting part of this is it's a connected system if you looked at it this way, not separate programs. And what sets it at the center of that experience in terms of the age ranges is Rotary Youth Exchange. So that overlap creates a pathway so that a student can come in any place and also progress through other opportunities and other programs. And Rotary's Youth Exchange focuses on, as you can see, I've listed there, global awareness, adaptability, and leadership. But that connection brings those opportunities and those exposures into that whole Rotary Youth experience. So the bottom line here is youth exchange can be, I said is because I'm an optimist, it can be a bridge experience that links Rotary youth programs into a seamless journey for the young person. So the connection between Interact and youth exchange. So I see that early engagement can build to a global perspective. Interact obviously focuses on service and leadership and fun and friendship. Let's not leave that out of there. As Paula pointed out and others, I'm sure, realize, youth exchange expands the youth's perspective, and that progression from age 12 through age 18 and beyond is what we're looking for, so that that student, that young person, has multiple opportunities, and it really does work. So, for example, I know an interactor who joined Interact, participated in service projects and fun at his high school, made friends, eventually served as the officer in the club. He learned about youth exchange during a roundtable discussion at a club meeting. He became a youth exchange candidate, traveled to France for his exchange. When he returned home, he applied for and was accepted at the U.S. Air Force Academy. He became an officer, and he wants to become a diplomat. Early engagement led to personal growth and supported fulfilling his dreams. This is a real example. His name is Gabe. His early years were spent living in a brothel with his mom. And because of Rotary Youth Program participation, he is literally living his dream. So they impact. There's a natural progression through the high school years where we can work to encourage that natural progression of experience for that high school student, both service, global expansion, global understanding, and in other ways. Now, looking at that connection between Youth Exchange, RYLA, and Scouting America. Now, the growth becomes real because there's this, I don't want to overuse the word continuum. Art uses the word interaction. Other people use the connection. What we're trying to do is take a sledgehammer and batter down those boundaries between these programs, these that create these silos. And so the value here is that youth exchange looks globally. RYLA extends the leadership experience that a young person gets through scouting or through Interact and through other experiences in their life, obviously. And Scouting America reinforces a values-based leadership and service. So Scouting America age is from 5 to 18. And then that is a hook for us that some clubs are using. And we have 18 of our clubs, 18 units and clubs involved in Scouting America programs. Long, multiple year history with using Scouting America programs through, principally at the older ages, through troops and sometimes through venturing crews, to make that connection to Interact, Rotary Youth Exchange, and RYLA.
Johnny Coleman.
Uh-oh. So I have another example for you. A local boy here is a member of a Scouting America troop. His troop leader suggested he consider joining the Interact Club, and he does it. He learns about youth exchange at a school assembly, We just had our club assembly Friday. He invites a Rotarian to speak about youth exchange at their Interact Club meeting. The Rotarian offered to mentor the youth as a candidate for youth exchange. His exchange took him to Brazil. This changes his view of future opportunities. He continues to develop skill in Portuguese, a very difficult language, I might add. He returns and becomes an enthusiastic Interact mentor as a senior. He's invited to speak to RYLA as a returning outbound exchange student. Fast forward a few years, he's now serving as an assistant district governor. So creating a continuum from local leadership to global leadership, that's a lot of what we're about. We see a world in which Rotary continues to have a major impact in providing a world or encouraging a world or supporting a world where all people have opportunity and all people can live in peace. Youth protection. Now, I don't want to talk about policy, procedure, or training requirements. We have other places to do that. What I want to talk about is the shared values and how youth protection is an opportunity and a requirement across all the ages of Rotary Youth programs. It builds trust in our community, in our schools, and with the families that are participating in Rotary Youth programs. This is important because these are shared standards across all youth programs in Rotary. So what a youth and their family finds in one program, they'll find in all programs, that consistency. Okay, so that safe, consistent, and high quality experience. Now, that high quality experience, we shouldn't give that short shrift right here, because if the youth enters into Interact and it's a poorly functioning or marginally functioning club, then that isn't going to probably lead to them being involved long-term or in other parts of the youth program that we offer. So we're not talking today about that quality experience that we're providing in each of these programs, but it is an important topic for other roundtables. How do we make sure as a district that each Interact Club, each Rotaract, each time we do RYLA, we have that consistency and that high quality experience. Here's a thought. These are a lifelong pathway of leadership, service, and global understanding. Some of us came to Rotary through a youth program, and we have lots of examples. I've given 3, but we have lots of examples where that association led to longer service and a richer life with more opportunity. It does not always happen. And so that's why when I look at where we are in District 5100, I say, we're not there yet. We have a ways we can go. And I suspect that most of you feel the same way. So the way I think of it is these programs are not independent. They form a leadership pathway that grows with the growth of the young person. Please contact me. I'm interested in connections.
Thank you so much, Kathleen. You've given us a lot to think about there, and I would urge you to jot down some questions that you may have, because we're going to have a Q&A time after all 4 of our presenters have been able to share. I appreciate particularly the things that Kathleen said to us about the power of this connectivity with the youth exchange. And we had a youth exchange student come in from Venezuela a couple of years ago. she was had been active in Interact in Venezuela, and she was placed in a high school that had no Interact club. And so she called me as the youth, uh, the Interact chair, and said, "There's no Interact club in my high school." I said, "No, we have never been able to get one started because we haven't been able to get past the administration there." She says, "Well, we need one here. I want to have an Interact club. I want to help start one." I said, "We'll work with you, Macy, to do that." She recruited her youth exchange counselor to be her Rotarian advisor. She recruited a counselor there at the school to be her faculty advisor, and the Rotary Club of the counselor to be the sponsoring Rotary Club. And by the end of the year, we had an Interact club chartered in that high school because of the power of one youth exchange student. So it's profound the influence these young people can have, and it only takes one to make it happen. So thank you for reminding us of the power of our youth exchangers, Kathleen. We're going to move on now to our third speaker, and that is Dr. Debbie Ford, who is retired veterinarian up in District 5080. She's a member of the Sandpoint Rotary Club, I believe, and that includes Eastern and Central Washington, North Idaho, and Southern British Columbia. 5080 is one of the few Rotary districts incorporating an international border, which does have its challenges at this time. She serves as a district and youth club youth services chair, the Interact Club advisor, and RYS director. And she's a member of the Rotary Youth Services Task Force that sponsors these conferences. She's honored to work with fellow youth leaders across the Big West. Within that scope, she says she also serves as the liaison for the Rotary or the RYLA Community of Practice. And we'll talk a little bit more about those communities of practice later on. Funny thing about her, she loves to paint things, walls, ceramics, canvases, anything. And she loves to do this with her grandsons. Messy but wonderful, she says. And she says we should also see her fridge. Take it away, Debbie. Talk to us about your experiences and what you can tell us about these connections.
Thank you so much, Art, and welcome everyone. It's always I'm so grateful for these opportunities to gather and tell each other stories, celebrate our successes, identify our challenges, and plan next steps forward. So it's really an honor to be here today. I am going to be painting with my grandsons this afternoon, so just so you know, I'll let you know how that goes. I don't have slides today. I have instead some stories. My presentation today will be a little bit kind of grassroots because I think, as was said in our pre-conference planning meeting, our work really, the heart of our work begins at the club level. And I think we'd all agree in this Zoom room representing our districts that there probably is work to do there. We do need to expand our reach, reaching out to clubs in communities that are just beginning these journeys. And it doesn't hurt us to recall what that felt like. Rather ominous and feeling like you're walking this path alone. So I think we are all called to extend our experience, our stories, our advice back down there to that club level, which is really where our fundamental strength lies. I do have a couple reflections that I'd like to share. I really appreciate Paula and Kathleen's comments. One thing I'd like to emphasize, and this is out of my own experience, is we need to prioritize our networks throughout our school districts. School administrators clear up to the superintendent level on down to school counselors and teachers, especially those teachers that teach courses in leadership, real life mentorship, and they exist in all our school districts because they are the folks that if we can really create a real tight partnership, they're the ones that help us reach into the schools, do our networking. Interact clubs that are school-based can't survive without connection to this network of professionals. So I just think that's a big part of our work. The other reflection I would offer is as kind of has already been said, but we have common denominators that span our 3 youth programs, and really all 4 if we want to bring in youth protection. First of all, the 4-way test. We have a huge, beautiful 4-way test branded banner that we display at RYLA. And it's so nice to have it as a backdrop because we just turn around and point to it when there's a struggle, when there's a challenge, as a target and a resource for ethical decision making. We have it hanging in our classroom where we hold interact meetings. And it's obviously there in front of our youth exchange students as well. So the 4-way test is one of those common denominators. Another common denominator that we haven't really shined the light on yet, and I'm so glad to see Vicki Broden in the audience today. She is a colleague from my own district, 5080. But Vicki has picked up the peace building banner in our district. Our district is a peace district, and she conducts monthly Zoom meetings with students from Interact and Youth Exchange and RYLA, invites guest speakers on the topics of peace building, high-profile guest speakers. And these students coming from RYLA, Interact, and Youth Exchange gather to talk about what peace means to them. So another example of a common denominator. Now I'd like to share Maggie's story. Maggie was a high school freshman 7 years ago now. She joined our Interact Club as a freshman and was as shy as they come. Didn't say a word. I could tell she was listening, kind of soaking it all in, willing to participate in service projects, willing to step up. But if you looked at her behavior each week, you would not categorize her as a leader. But I was curious about Maggie. The next year, she decided to run for secretary. And she was elected, and she did a great job documenting the minutes of our meetings, communicating with our faculty advisor and the principal of the school, kind of being our ambassador that whole year. The next year, she became vice president, and finally in her senior year, she became president of our Interact Club. Meanwhile, rewind that 3 years, in her sophomore year, she attended RYLA. In her junior year, she came back as a trailblazer of sorts, still in high school, however, as a junior staff member. In her senior year, now she's president of Interact. In her senior year at RYLA, she became not only a junior staff member as her second year, but she co-emceed the event. She co-emceed RYLA as a high school senior. She went on to the University of Idaho, came back for our RYLA, drove up from her dorm room, 3 hours to come up for our RYLA event, took that event and emceed it. And then when she went back to university, she restarted a dormant Rotaract Club at the University of Idaho. She's now a junior majoring in elementary education, wouldn't you know? And she and I still stay in touch. Maggie's story is another example of this connectedness that we're celebrating today. She never looked into becoming a youth exchange student. I think there were financial constraints from her family that kept her from doing that. But in our RYLA, we have exchange students participating. And I remember her interacting with them and making sure they
I
felt
do.
making sure they felt comfortable. So in a way, she had developed that global awareness just through these interactions. So Maggie is just an example, I think, of how successful connections can happen. Umberto, Vicky knows Umberto, we call him Umbi. He is an inbound exchange student from Italy. My Rotary Club sponsors him. Vicky knows him because he zooms in to her youth peace action group and is part of that peace building conversation. He is also an officer in one of our 2 school-based Interact clubs here in Sandpoint. You have to understand my town of Sandpoint, population 7,000. I don't know if anybody can kind of get your head around that just for a minute. But we have my club, one of 2 Rotary clubs in this town of 7,000. We have 3 inbound and 3 outbound exchange students, just our club. And district-wide, we have 10 exchange students, full year, long-term exchange students, and we have 13 short-term exchange students. So we have 23 total in a relatively small district. So we have so many opportunities to make these connections. It's just so fun. One more story, and this story is evolving, but I think once again illustrates the power of youth program connections. Caroline is a freshman in high school. She joined our Interact Club this year, deer in the headlights, just not knowing. Didn't have any friends that talked her into it. She just showed up one day wanting to just kind of try it on for size. She became our club secretary, and she came to run the meetings when the president and vice president were sick or were unable to attend. And now she's our chief innovator. She's the one who says, let's look into a service project to make up hygiene kits for the Women and Children's Center in Priest River, which is a tiny little community near us. She's making a shopping list. She's actually advising the president and the vice president of our club, and they're accepting her advice. She attended RYLA this year. So I just am just passionate and so excited about the frontier. Going back to my opening remark, however, we have so much work to do, my friends, to get back to fundamentals, to get back to those grassroots. Our districts, our clubs. The Big West is composed of 30 Rotary districts. Chris can tell us how many districts are represented here in this Zoom room today, but I don't think it's 30. So I challenge you to keep this conversation going. Art will tell you a little more about our Communities of Practice program at the end of this conference. This is a way for you each to join a group that is interested in advancing individual programs, but perhaps more importantly, the connections among them. So I invite you to lean into the Communities of Practice model and help us sustain and advance these programs to another level. Art, I might have just a couple more minutes. I really do want to shine the light on a RYLA experience that Art shared with us during the planning process. Getting back to the intersection of RYLA and youth exchange. In Art's district, the RYLA participants are divided into groups as most of us do during RYLA. But the groups at Arts RYLA are designated by a foreign country. So, for example, Team Germany. And this means that there is likely a youth exchange student there from Germany who becomes not the leader of the group necessarily, but the identity of the group. And if there's more groups than exchange students, then the group gets to decide what country they want to represent. So there is a global international flavor to his RYLA. And I don't know, Art, if you want to make a couple comments now or save it for discussion, but I think this is a beautiful model for a connection.
Thank you, Debbie. Actually, if we don't have enough of our Rotary Youth Exchange students that year, we'll actually borrow some exchange students from AFS or one of the other programs so that we can have 12 countries. And so that's the way we do that. But it becomes a really powerful thing for us. I'm going to move on now. Cooper George is from Parker, Arizona, down on the Colorado River. It's a small community, and Cooper has done it all. He is currently in Rotaract at Arizona State University, which is actually in our neighboring district. But he is very much involved still with our district, working with our RYLAs and our junior RYLA, and was just the speaker, featured speaker of our Interact District Conference here this last month, and he was nominated and selected as the Interactor of the Year several years ago. So he is coming this morning to talk about what he has benefited from in a district that has this connectivity between the various youth services programs. So Cooper, go ahead and take it away.
Thank you for that wonderful introduction, Art. Hello, everybody. I'm so excited to be here, and I'm honored that I've been asked to be here. It's really, I consider it a personal honor and a duty to come here and share the experiences that Rotary has offered me. Can you guys see my presentation?
We can.
Okay, perfect. So this is my life through Rotary services. And I call it a web of opportunity, as I'll speak more on later. What I'm going to do right now is just to give everybody an understanding of the programs that I've been able to be a part of. I'm just going to give a brief overview of my experience in all of the Rotary Youth Services that my district has to offer. And then I'm going to talk a little bit about the impacts that those have had on me and people that I know. So starting off, chapter 1 for me was joining Interact. I come from Parker, a very small town of 6,000. So I got you beat, Debbie. Very small town. And freshman year, somebody from the senior band that I was in asked me to join Interact. I didn't know anything about it. Once again, it was a club rush. So many clubs, too many options. I just picked one, and luckily it ended up being Interact. It was amazing to get to see all these people and interact with them and do service projects, which I've done before in my middle school. And I really felt like I was making a difference, like I had found people that loved doing more like me. It wasn't until later in my Interact career that I attended my first Interact District Conference. So at this Interact District Conference, there were clubs from all over the district, and I had never even known that there was an Interact District. I didn't even know Interact was international. So imagine me coming from my small town, Parker, Arizona, to this district conference, an auditorium full of students from all over the state. And we hear presentations from all of these Rotary Youth Services that I didn't know existed. And it really lit a fire under my feet in order to serve and do more and get out there and experience more. It truly was a discovery of a whole new world. Just before I attended the Interact District Conference, my advisor for the Interact Club, our teacher, he told me about this opportunity that our district offers. They partner with an organization called Crutches for Africa, as well as another organization that goes to Mexico, Jazz My Chair, I believe it's called. And he pushed me to apply for this program, Crutches for Africa, where they send Interact ambassadors from the district to Kenya to personally give out crutches and to interact with Interact clubs over there and collaborate and start fundraisers. And that's what led me to this district conference is hearing him push me to apply. I did apply. I was accepted. And at this district conference, they announced me as one of the members along with 4 other students. So chapter 3, I call this Getting Involved. Started out, of course, with Crutches for Africa, which we did that summer after the conference. It was an amazing opportunity. It was the furthest that I had ever gone before up to this point. I'd never been out of the country, hardly out of my state. You know, I hadn't experienced much coming from such a small town. I mean, the most funnest thing to do in Parker is go to the Walmart. So this really empowered me to do more in my community and for my district. That summer as well, they asked me to be a junior counselor at the Junior RYLA camp. Junior RYLA, that's not something you guys have in your district. It's a RYLA program for middle schoolers. So it mirrors the RYLA program for seniors or for high schoolers, but just with more focus on the younger aspects of leadership. And then later on, I was a senior counselor at Senior RYLA camp in Ponderosa. And then again, I've been to RYLA almost every year since that first time. I've just fallen in love with it, fallen in love with the experiences and the people. And 2 years ago, I got the opportunity to go abroad. I was told by somebody at RYLA who went with me on the Crutches for Africa program. She encouraged me, her name was Colleen Poons. She encouraged me to apply for the Rotary Youth Exchange program, which was mind-boggling at the time. I mean, yeah, I had gone to Africa, but that was a 2-week program. This would be for an entire year. But she encouraged me to go, and so I did. I applied, I was accepted, and I went to Valencia, Spain for 10 months. It was an amazing experience where I stayed with 2 different host families. I got to experience all their festivals. I did the Camino de Santiago. I truly found a new family there. You can see the top left corner is my second family, and the bottom right is my first family. They have a tradition where they dress up for Christmas, and they gave me an elephant with a pink tutu. So that was really fun. Looking back on the experiences that I've had through Rotary, the deepest connections that I've made along the way have been something that's really empowered me to go and do more and feel supported by my colleagues. Not just through RYLA, but also internationally. I have friends across the country, across the world that I interact with on a regular basis, and I maintain those connections. And it's something that I never thought I would be able to do before. So now that you have a little bit more of an understanding of what my experience through Rotary Youth Services have been, I'm going to talk a little bit about the web of Rotary Youth Services. So obviously we know about RYLA, we know about Interact, and we know about Rotary Youth Exchange. But our program, because we've collaborated so much, we are able to support other youth services programs. I've mentioned Crutches for Africa and Jazz, my chair to Mexico, Ambassadors to Mexico program. But our district has such an emphasis on integrating all of these programs that it doesn't feel like a regular path. Like we talk about how the expected path is you go to RYLA, you come back, you start or join an Interact club. After Interact, you go to college and you join a Rotaract club. And then after that, you become a Rotarian. That's the idea that's always been given to us. But through Rotary Youth Services program in our district, it really feels like more of just a big bunch of stepping stones. And wherever you start, you can still find yourself at another end of the web. So for me, I started in Interact, obviously, but a lot of people start in RYLA. Some people even start in the Rotary Youth Exchange program. And in doing this, we're able to create a much more holistic understanding of Rotary Youth Services that really empower us for that next step to Rotaract. Some people just do Interact and then move to Rotaract, and that's completely fine. But when you integrate these programs, you have more of an idea of what Rotary really stands for. And not only that, you are empowered and enabled to move forward, truly representing Rotary's interests. I'm going to talk a little bit about questions that people have asked me after I've been through all these programs. So one question is, what was the biggest roadblock for me? The biggest roadblock was telling myself no. I mean, it's kind of hard for most of you, I'm sure, as Rotarians, to imagine saying no or imagine being too scared to move forward. And that's how I feel now. But looking back, my freshman year of high school, it was scary. I struggled with actually putting in my application for Crutches for Africa. I mean, I was scared of going farther outside of my comfort zone than I ever had been. But the thing that enabled me to do so much was having experiences along the way that kind of held my hand. I didn't jump straight into Rotary Youth Exchange. I had Crutches for Africa first, where we had Interact advisors there every step of the way. I had RYLA programs that really developed my leadership skills and my public speaking. I had the Interact District Council position that I held that allowed me to collaborate with people from other areas that I had never met before. All of these enabled me to keep moving forward, keep getting a little bit more of an opportunity in order to be where I am today. What motivated me more than anything was the people that I talked to along the way. I mentioned Colleen Coons. Art has been a huge motivator for me. He's the one who invited me to join the Interact District Council. And these people are not only dedicated to Rotary Youth Services, they're dedicated to Rotary Youth. Colleen Coons, I met her on the Crutches for Africa trip. And when I talked to her, we were at a RYLA program that she was a mentor at. So here I am talking to somebody from Crutches for Africa at a RYLA about Rotary Youth Exchange. It's these people that aren't dedicated to one specific youth program and say that's enough. It's the people that are dedicated to the Rotary youth and getting them every opportunity that they need that really pushed me to do more in Rotary and in my life. One final question that I get asked is, why do I keep coming back? I was a part of Interact already. I'm done with the Rotary Youth Exchange program. Why am I here as a Rotaract? Why am I here presenting today? The reason I'm here is because my district, 5495, has built me for leadership. They taught me to care for others. They taught me to show up when a need is presented. And they taught me, most of all, to put service above self. Through each of these programs, through each stepping stone along my path, they have empowered me and taught me the Rotary way. And that is why I'm here. And that is why I'm going to continue this path all the way to the end. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Cooper. Great presentation. And now I'm going to open it up for questions that you may have that you'd like to ask any of these four presenters. Yes, Jen.
Okay, this couldn't have been more perfect. As the youth chair, I was just proposed a question and I said, I got to do some investigating. So let me go ahead and bring up the question, and it may be your Valenzuela example that may be the answer, but can an early act or interact club be formed with foreign nationals who are here without parents but have a chaperone? They are only here for 6 months at a time, but the rotation is constant. What's your suggestion?
You know, the beautiful thing about Interact is that we can do whatever we want with it. It really is just a vehicle to work with youth and to be able to instill in them the principles that we believe in Rotary, our four-way test, our service above self that Cooper has mentioned. And We have connected that, as Kathleen has said, with scouting. We've connected it with boys and girls clubs, and we provide an international dimension of opportunities for youth that nobody else does. That really is that makes us so unique in our Rotary Youth Services programs because we've got that internationality that is above and beyond anything anyone else has. So I think it would be a perfect thing to form an Interact Club in that way. And Chris, you are the Rotary Youth Services Chair in the largest Interact district in the world, there in 5170. Any comment you would have about that?
Yes, I mean, one of the things with you mentioned early act, and technically Rotary International recognizes Interact as age 12, and 12 to 18, or 17, and so now that doesn't preclude districts from incorporating some of the other younger members, elementary age. But I certainly think that there's a lot of great opportunity to expand the Interact programs to a variety of different populations.
I would like to add a comment here, and that is that what the continuity that you need to provide is through the school and the counselors there or advisors, and through the Rotary, the club members that are there. So you have continuity, and as the youth change, you still have that structure, that continuity that provides a safety net around the student.
Now, we also have a number of our clubs are community-based clubs. In that case, then it is totally up to the Rotary Club to provide that structure and that connectivity and safety net there. And so we do have both kinds. So,
right.
Any other questions?
Thank you so much.
Yes, Paula.
I have a couple. I'm curious, both Art and Cooper. I love that interconnectedness you talked about and the experience that you were able to garner from that, Cooper. How do you find collectively, and others can jump in, that community-based club versus school-based club provide the more effective continuity, or it matters not? That's my first question. Second is, we are constantly challenged where our youth programs, particularly in youth exchange, are being, we have competition from the private sector where they're actually paying parents to be, to provide housing for the incoming bound students. And the way our program is structured out in Southern California, when we send an outbound student and an inbound coming in, they're coming in through our Rotary Club, and we're trying to get host families. And that's a huge challenge for us. And when we don't have that connectiveness, we find that we're also not getting the support there. So I'd love to hear from any of you as to how you try to make both of those efforts work better.
I will comment about the school-based versus community-based. We really look at what works in the particular setting. We have had some school-based clubs that we have been moving to community-based simply because the administration or in the case of charter organization of charter schools, does not have the service above self concept. And really, we are having trouble operating within their structure. And so we move it outside that to the community-based to be able to do what we need to do to make it interact fully and completely. And then again, it falls totally under a Rotary Club to be able to provide that structure and continuity. But there are advantages, obviously, with the school-based as far as having that pool, that network of students there, having a place to meet. There's just a lot of things that are advantages to having as a school-based but you also then have to deal with all of the school rules and situations there. Uh, Anyone want to comment about Paula's question about the challenges that she's facing, where you have these youth exchange programs that are non-Rotary that are paying uh, uh, host families and others? They are not an all-volunteer program like us. And how does she compete in uh, that environment? Any comments from anybody?
I know with my experience in the youth exchange program, the responsibility to find hosting families was on both the Rotary Club and the outgoing student. So my family, we couldn't host a youth exchange student, which is uncommon. My sister is special needs, and we just felt it wasn't right to put a inbound student through the stress of that. So they encouraged me to go out there as a member of the community and look for these host families, which I think really helped me as an exchange student, trying to interact with people and appeal to them. So we ended up having two of the hosting families be Rotary members. And then the other one, I believe, was a teacher from my school. So having these kids who are motivated by youth exchange go out and they know communities. They have friends who have families that might be willing to host. At least in my small town, that was an excellent way of doing that.
Thank you, Cooper.
That's a great idea. Thanks, Cooper.
Kathleen, can you put your information in the chat? As the World Chair of Scouting and Rotary Fellowship, really want to connect with you and talk with you. We just did a presentation where we recognized at the leadership meeting of all the presidents of our district, the Rotary clubs that sponsor scouting. So we had a dozen Rotary clubs across the stage with our governor and the scout executive. And it was a wonderful program. And we have 12 that sponsor about 30 clubs right now, or scout units.
Okay.
I'm putting it in there. And there's also the International Fellowship of Scouting Rotarians, of which I'm a life member, which will allow you to connect.
Well, that's what I'm the world president of.
Right. So
okay. Okay.
Yeah, Paula.
Vicki.
And
go ahead.
Art. One sentence. Scouting America has worked with Rotary as a charter organization for more than 100 years. So this is not a new thing, but as Rotary, we sometimes forget to reach into those scouting units that we're chartering and pull and connect with them. We do service with them, we support them, but sometimes we forget to ask them to participate in Interact, Youth Exchange, and
that just dawned on me. Yes, that's a great comment, Kathleen, because just in this conversation, it dawned on me that we can have a really active role in helping us recruit interactors out of there and people coming to RYLA, and I mean all of those.
Right.
Very good. Vicki, you had a question.
It's not a question, it's more a comment for Paula. So in the town I live, population's 6,500. There were a lot of people that started businesses or they started a branch of exchange students. And what we found out is that they were using these kids either as farm hands, as babysitters, or even to convert them to the religions. And so I was a teacher at the district at the time. And so I went and talked to the superintendent about, look, we are vetted families. We have all those Rotary values.
Oh, we've lost her.
Uh-oh.
Okay. I just want to mention here that our next conference, which is on August 15th, is going to be on the topic of empowering youth exchange. And Would really like to have you all back for that and talking about how we, as the other programs, Interact and RYLA, can help to empower our youth exchange programs. Because what we're finding in talking with the districts, we have 30 districts in our zones 26, 27. And of course, all of our districts wound up with our youth exchange programs discontinued for 2 years. We couldn't send anybody anywhere.
Yeah.
And youth exchange, like RYLA, particularly operate under a momentum thing of referrals. And our people had graduated out by the time we're ready to rebuild. And so a number of our districts are really still struggling to rebuild their programs since the pandemic. And so our next conference on August 15th will be on that subject of how can we empower and rebuild our youth exchange programs, and how can we help from Interact and RYLA and any of these other programs that you may want to talk about, scouting and other things that could be the sources to help us rebuild this program. I'd like to also ask the question, one of the things that was mentioned by, I believe, Debbie, was talking about the common denominators that we have across our programs. She mentioned Rotary's four-way test. What other common denominators do you see that we have across our three programs? Anyone?
Opportunities for service.
Opportunities for service. Okay.
Definitely building your network and connections.
Okay, building network and connections.
And I like the leadership at different levels, different age levels. I mean, I feel like we're doing appropriate leadership training for the different age groups, and it's kind of a progression.
Very, very good, Jeff. This is definitely a common denominator. We are all about leadership training, aren't we? In our district, we particularly identify that we have three levels of leadership training that we offer, training and service. One is the club level. The second is the district level. That's our district council, where each of the young people will be responsible who become our assistant governors. We'll have 3 to 5 Interact clubs that each of them are responsible for. They also plan 2 conferences. One is a virtual conference and then the other is in person. And then we have the international level. So we have the club, district, and then the international level. And that is what Cooper was talking about in our ambassadors to Kenya and to Central Mexico. This year we'll be sending our 9th team to Kenya of young people that apply and are selected to be a part of a team to go with advisors to work to help empower the disabled poor in these countries. And each year, our clubs are involved in collecting used, still usable crutches, wheelchairs, walkers, other devices to enable the disabled poor in these countries. And then we ship, in conjunction with Rotary's Crutches for Africa program, we ship a 40-foot container of these pieces of equipment to usually Kenya every year and sometimes Uganda. And we've shipped to Nigeria and other countries as well, but particularly concentrate on Kenya. And so this is our international level. And as I said, we are sending our 9th team to Kenya this year and our 5th team to Central Mexico. And our Central Mexico program is very different from our one in Kenya because we have our young people go down and work with a group of disabled wheelchair mechanics that Rotary has developed, taking people who would have great difficulty finding employment, but training them to become experts in rebuilding and repairing wheelchairs. And that group will do over 3,000 wheelchairs in a year, traveling around with a mobile unit in the Cuernavaca area. They also now have a cloned unit in Mexico City, and we're looking at a couple of other areas in Mexico where we continue to clone this. And when our young people go down and work with these limb wheelchair mechanics down there, all of them wheelchair-bound individuals, and are amazed at what these people are able to do so quickly and so well. it is really a transforming experience for them to work with them. So we offer these different levels of leadership, and this is really what we're all about in all of our programs, developing leadership. And one of the things we incidentally do with our programs, our ambassadors programs, is that every day there is a different team leader. And that team leader's responsibility is not only to coordinate the team for the day, but also that is the person who does a recap that goes on WhatsApp back to family and friends at night for what they've done that day. But they also become the spokesperson for that team that day. If they're meeting with a governor or a mayor or whoever, the adults don't speak. It is that designated leader of the team. And as we did an exit interview a couple of years ago, the girl from up in Grand Canyon, I asked, what did you get most out of this program? And she said, I learned I can talk. And that was profound because public speaking is one of the most intimidating things for people throughout the world. She learned I can talk under all these circumstances in different countries, different contexts. And so this is what we're doing. We're training leaders in everything that we do, all of our programs. Any other common denominators you'd like to mention before we wrap it up today?
Yeah, let me just add a couple of things above the district level for those of you interested. Interact has Interact trainings in multi-districts. We have one coming up. I've heard of numerous ones where we have multiple districts doing Interact trainings or Rotaract trainings, and Youth Exchange gets together for activities beyond their own district. There's also international, one of our Interact leaders' kids went to a program up in Canada for interactors and did a training there. A couple of ours have gone on to Rotary International youth team that is elected every year. And I've had two of mine on that youth level, and they've come back and spoken at zone institutes to the incoming governors. So there are opportunities of leadership for these kids beyond the district level. So just be aware that you can influence these kids to show leadership on a international basis, or at least beyond your own district.
Okay,
so I'm so proud that RYLA, which is key to our district, prepares the kids to become my leaders, and we have more interactors and more interact clubs than Rotary clubs and in our district. It's like 5170 where we got all our ideas. So work with other districts, work with the people on here, and get ideas from the ones who have done it. And we all work together to prepare the kids for the future.
Thank you, Lane. I want to make just a comment about the fact that we have communities of practice. Being able to be a part of a network of people who are doing the same thing that you're doing in other districts. We have a community of practice for Interact, and Troy Campbell is the chair of that group for the community of practice in that. Mike Madden, who's on here, is the chair of the Rotary Youth Protections community of practice. We have one for RYLA. We have also for Youth Exchange, and that is particularly connected in with NYN. And unfortunately, we wound up with this conference being at the same time as the NYN conference, so we don't have as many of our Youth Exchange people on here today. But these communities of practice exist. If you'd like to be a part of those, please send me your name and your email address. Send me an email, and I'll connect you with the chair of each of these communities of practice, whichever one you'd like to be a part of. You can also put that in the chat and let us know that you'd like to be a part of one of these communities of practice. With that, we have had our time expire. I want to thank particularly our 4 presenters, Paula Fox from 5320, Kathleen Jordan from 5100, Debbie Ford from 5080, and from my own district here, Cooper George. I think it was helpful to hear all these different dimensions of our subject today. So thank you, particularly our presenters, and thank you all for coming and participating and joining us for this. I know many people have said, I can't be online today, but please record it. I want to watch it. I'm very, very interested in what you're talking about. Goodbye. Have a great day. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for organizing this, Art.
Great job.
Thanks, Art.
Thanks.
Thank you, Art.
Thanks, everybody.
you.
Learned a lot. Mahalo nui. Have a great day.